Thank you so much for that intro. And thank you, Snap, for hosting this today. We really appreciate the time to have in front of your customers. My name is Delia Hansen, and I actually work with the AV distribution channel exclusively for Lutron. And what's really exciting is I have been selling shades for probably about 20 years now, and this is the first time that I've really been able to actively pitch and sell through the distribution channel. So I'm really excited to be able to take and bring this product to you guys today. Again, we'll be answering all the questions at the end, so just go ahead and type them in the Q&A. Today's agenda, we plan on covering a little bit on the market opportunity. I'm sure that a lot of you already know that there's a lot of opportunity for shades, that's why you're joining us today, but we will cover it a little bit in depth and try to really focus in on where this shade fits in the mix. We'll then move into the product itself, and we'll start talking about the key specs, how you integrate it, measuring, tools to help you measure, and installation best practices. And then the last segment, we will get into how you actually get started with shades, how you bring them up on projects, starting to sell your first job, doing a quote, and then, of course, the last piece, which is going to be ordering it from Snap. So if we take a look here at this beautiful living room, we've got the ability to control the outside light coming in, and that's really a part of controlling light. So if you're selling Radio Raw or Caseta today, you're controlling the man-made light that's in the space, but if you're not controlling the exterior light that's coming in from the sun, we're really not giving a complete experience. So we want to try to figure out how we can do that, not only in the luxury space that we've been so successful with for the last 20 plus years, but how do we get it into additional homes, right? So we have Homeworks, we have Raw, and we have Caseta. And these products allow us to do that control in all of the spaces, the DIY entry level, the mid-market slash high end, and the luxury space. But for the most part, our shades have only lived in that luxury space, even though 51% of shades that are sold today live in the non-luxury space. So the market there is actually just as large, if not larger, than the market we've catered to for the last 20 years. So knowing that is fantastic, and that's great. So we know the opportunity is going to be there. But how do we make it easier? How do we take away the pain points of quoting, the complexity of installing shades, the number of options and features that we have to decide upon before we can provide a quote to the customer? We want to get to an easy yes. So we've introduced this type of shade to help you get started faster. So the first thing is these are wire free. All right. So that means all of these shades are battery powered. We're not going to have to run wires to each of the windows. We're not going to have to mathematically calculate our power panels and our voltage drop. This is going to exponentially decrease the complications required to quote and spec your first job. You literally pick a window, 4 screws, 4 or 5 batteries. Now, the second thing is fabrics. Fabrics get very, very intricate because customers have a lot of desires and, individual selections that they can choose from. There are hundreds of fabrics available. And yes, we can do those, so we're not excluding you from it, but we have curated 4 the most popular fabrics that are ever chosen, which are white and gray, in a light filtering and a blackout option. This is going to make it really easy to get to that first. Well, most customers are going to select a shade fabric. 80 to 90% of them go with these. That helps the customer feel more comfortable. That helps you feel more comfortable in pitching it. And the last thing is that this is a simple minimalist design. So in the past, you've had to go through and design pockets and places to put things. Very complicated bracket assemblies where your depths are really necessary to understand. Your heights are really necessary to understand. With this, we're looking at being able to add in all 3 applications: an in-jam, an outside, an above mount, any application you would need with 4 screws, 2 brackets, and then the drive and roller goes in between. It also matches up with the really popular minimalist design, and if you do need to hide it, you can always put a fascia in front of it, and any fascia that you can find at a local hardware store will help convert that to a more traditional design. So let's check out the price points of what we have available today. In the retail and DIY segment, you've got places like IKEA, Allen and Roth, even Tilt. And most of these are going to be in your $200 to $500 range. And then when you move up into the professional integrated systems, we jump up. We've got Hunter Douglas, Crestron Power Shades, and even our own luxury style shades are all in that $1,000 to $1,500 a window price point. Where this shade fits is right in between those two, where there's a little bit of a do-it-for-me aspect, but not going all the way into that luxury price point. And what's really nice is that this average price is for any shade in that 4 foot to 6 foot range, 3 foot to 7 foot range. Its entire dimension up to 48 inches wide and 80 inches tall. So there are hundreds of windows that you're going to be able to see in projects that will fit into this price point. Which, by the way, matches up fairly nice with just a static window treatment. Those are also a couple $100 a piece. So great opportunity there for everyone. So now if we look at that and we say every window that's under, 4 feet, 48 inches wide and 80 inches tall is going to be that $599, we can literally count up the number of windows in a room and multiply by that price to give a quote to the customer there on site. So you'll know right away, is this within budget or a possibility for the customer without having to go back, do a ton of extra measurements, find a shading quote tool, get your price back from your distributor, and then try to contact the customer again. You can do it all there within a few minutes. This is going to make it a lot easier for everybody to present more often. All right, so we've got a nice flexible solution here, and the controls are just as flexible. All right, so we are able to control this shade with just a Pico. Okay, so it's that little remote you see on the left-hand side. It's about $26 from Lutron at list, and we can directly control any shade from that. And we can even control a wall of windows. So you can immediately give somebody a working automated shade without a control system at all. You can also add a control system, any control system from Lutron, Caseta, Rothery, Homeworks, and with those smart hubs, you unlock the ability to use apps as well as voice. You can even use your watch, which I use to raise and lower shades as well. So here you can see we are compatible with the Caseta Wireless Pro Hub, RA3, RA2 Select, and Homeworks QSX processors. So it's very, very compatible along with all of these popular brands. So basically, whatever your favorite control system is, you will be able to integrate a Triathlon Select shade. So let's get into more detail about this, what we call a fixed price option. So this is going to be any shades that are up to 48 inches wide by 80 inches tall in those 4 curated fabrics. We call that fabric Haven. All right, so the Haven fabric is available in a translucent that allows some light through, does give you privacy and UV glare protection, and a blackout fabric, which we call room darkening, because with a battery operated shade, we're not going to have side channels. So we won't be able to completely black out light. There will be some light leakage, but the fabric itself does not allow light through it. The brackets for these are going to be white only. They will require on-site assembly, and they will ship from the factory in 5 days. The price point is $5.99 for the translucent fabric, and it's a $50 adder for the room darkening fabric or the blackout fabric itself. Canadian prices are also listed here at $7.55 and $8.15. That's it. You walk into a house, you count up how many windows are less than 48 by 80, you multiply it by $5.99 or $6.49. We add a little bit for freight, and you are able to quote your customers in less than 3 minutes. Now, what do we do if they go over 48 or if we want different fabrics or different bracket options? You can see here that we have black brackets because, well, black mullions are very popular nowadays. So we do have the opportunity to then move that customer up. These fabrics are going to be available on our website, lutron.com/fabrics, and you can have your customer order up to 20 fabric samples for free, have them shipped right to their house, and they can select whichever fabric they like. Fabric sizes are not going to go all the way down to 22. These will start at 24 and a half, go up to 108 inches wide, and you can basically go down as little as 1 foot or up to as long as a 10-foot tall window, so 120 inches in height. And we have a color keychain that can give you the color samples for all 7 bracket colors available. Now, what's really important to remember here is we do have a quoting guide that we'll go over, but the pricing and lead time is very dependent on the configuration details here. So, the Triathlon Select Shade in Haven is a great conversation starter, opens you up, gives you a lot of available sizes and exact price and exact delivery time frame. Start the conversation, get customers hooked, find a few windows that fit within those parameters. And then if we want to expand out, have different bracket colors, different fabric options, or larger shades, it allows you to move into a more custom conversation after we've already established the budget and timeframes. So let's talk about our exposed roller bracket style specifically. This is going to be your white, smaller than 48-inch wide, shorter than 80-inch shade. It can be wall mounted, ceiling mounted, or jam mounted. Same bracket is used for all 3 applications. We are only battery operated, as we said before. The battery tray and drive will be on the left side only. We will not be able to move it to the right side. There is no no wired option available, so it's only going to be battery operated. Our battery life is going to be a 2-year, 1 up, 1 down per day. So you will be able to go a full 2 years without having to change those out. And we have 1 single designer style hem bar option, so we don't have to go through other different options with the customer. This is exposed roller. As we said before, there is no fascia included. There's no top back box or anything to be ordered with it. If you do want anything separate, you can purchase that from Home Depot or Lowe's or anywhere else. You would get a fascia and you can put it on top. You just need to be able to remove it so that you can get access to the battery tray. Another detail is this going to be regular roll only. This is going to be closest to the window. So regular roll is having the fabric roll down closest to the window, not closest into the room. There is no reverse roll on that, so this will be the only option you can have. Works with all of our pros, our hubs, and our bridges. And this is available in 22 up to 108-inch wide, heights of 12 inches, all the way up to 120. Now, this note again, that 22 minimum width is only available on Haven fabrics. If we leave the Haven portfolio, we're going to have a 24.5-inch minimum. Whenever we leave that fixed type bracket parameter, we'll actually move into another type of bracket. All right, so our fixed pricing is going to live on the left-hand side. That bracket has a tube and roller. Both sides actually pull out from the wall. You actually push in from the bottom. It allows the clip to release, and it slides a little bit out and down to provide access to that battery tray, as well as the programming button. All of your other brackets for other fabric sizes and tube sizes, tube and roller sizes, can be slightly larger. It's going to be called a type A bracket, and that will actually slide directly out on the left-hand side, and there's an idler on the right-hand side. Why does this matter? Well, it depends on which shade is going where. You will get one set will be assembled, and the other set you will have to assemble on site. We're going to cover that in a few slides. Lastly, the other bracket colors are also going to be those type A brackets, so you will get a slightly larger bracket. What does this mean for installation? Well, if you're going in the same room, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. It's only about 1/8 of an inch difference. However, if you're going to butt up multiple shades next to each other, you may want to consider which bracket type it is and try to make sure those maintain consistency throughout that single line. So let's talk about how to measure. First off, we're going to check our and whether or not we're going to do inside mount or outside mount. In this example, we're going to do inside the jam. So what we want to do is make sure that we have enough depth and we're not going to put it back too deep so that we won't be able to access the battery tray. We only need about 3.5 inches, so it's not too much. And if it protrudes into the room, that's usually not going to be a big deal. We are then going to measure to the nearest eighth of an inch the width of that jam. And then we're going to measure the height plus 1 inch for good measure there. Now, the reason why we always say 1 inch additional is because we're trying to set up to be able to cover the entire height of the window, and we can never go longer than the fabric that's ordered. But we can set our limits shorter. So wherever we want the fabric to end, whether it's the top of the sill or the bottom of the sill, as long as we give extra fabric, we can set those constraints at any time after installation, but we can't make the fabric longer. A note, and I'll say this a few times, is that measurement's going to go from the top of the bracket to the bottom of wherever you want to go. So now how do we measure outside mount? Well, first off, we have to decide, are we going to go above the trim or on the trim itself? Now, these are for different reasons, right? On the trim is a wonderful way to be able to avoid any hardware, crank handles, and all that stuff because of the way that the fabric is rolling, right? The fabric is rolling closer to the window. So if we have hand cranks or handles, we want to get it further off the window. Mounting it on the trim will help. However, we have to make sure that the trim is smooth and gives us a good solid seal. We do have extenders, so if you do need to get outside the wall even further to get over crank handles, you can add those, but we'll talk about how you get that onto the project by doing this. Above mount or above trim allows us to then line up with the window frame, get above the entire window, and it gives you the access to a 1/2 inch of spacer. And that spacer can help you clear a trim. So some windows have a trim that's completely flush, and some have a trim that protrudes into the room. Just figure out which one you have and what you need, and then get your spacers to match. Again, we're going to do that width to the nearest eighth of an inch, plus or minus, and then we're going to measure the height. And the height is from the top of the bracket all the way down. Especially important when you're doing above mount because you're going to need to go the entire height of the bracket above the window trim and then all the way down to the bottom of the window. Now, as you notice here, if you mount the brackets to the top of the trim and the side where it's flush at the top, you will get a little bit of visibility of the trim at the top over the roll of fabric. And if you notice on the right-hand side, if you mount the brackets flush with the side of the trim, you will see trim on the sides of the roller fabric. This is one question you will want to ask your customers is what they would prefer. Would they like to see any trim outside the fabric or would they like to see the fabric cover it all? If they would like to see the fabric cover the entire thing, you're going to want to do above mount and outside. Add 3/4 of an inch to do this, and then you will be able to cover all of the way from the left to the right-hand side, and the entire window will be unseen. To help you measure a little bit more consistently, we have created this tool, SELMEAS-kit. Lists for 270. They are in stock with Snap now. And this allows you to get an exact measurement for all of your under 48-inch wide windows. It also gives you access to where the anchor screws are going to go. So how does this work? Well, there are thumb screws that you unscrew and it adjusts all the way out to up to 48 inches wide. Put the thumb screws back into place, use the level to make sure it's in the window correctly, and then you can decide whether or not you want to jam mount it into the sides, ceiling mount into the top, or mount it into the back or the wall or the trim. Mark your points and create all your anchor points from there to give you a nice level shade. Having a level shade is very, very important because that's going to help you reduce something called telescoping that we will get to shortly. We're then going to take this out of the window and measure from the outside edge to the outside edge to give us our complete shade measurement, and there is no need to worry about deductions. That is all done automatically for you in the very simple tool. Lastly, there are little ears on the side of this. So if you want to make sure that you have battery tray access, flip the little ears out, press it up to the wall, and you are guaranteed to be able to have the correct depth to still be able to get those batteries out. And here you can see we're doing the ceiling mount anchor screws, and you can see the small holes in the side, which would be for your jam mount. All right, so we've ordered a shade. It's a 47 and 5/8 inch wide. It is going to come in two separate boxes. We know we're going to get those type B brackets, and the first box is going to include the fabric roll as well as the hem bar. We're going to pull that out, slide the hem bar into the bottom. The other box is going to come with the brackets, your screws, the shade drive itself, some hem bar end caps, those little Christmas tree guys, and a drive installation tool. Now we know that the drive is always going to go in the left-hand side. We know that the roll is always going to be closest to the window. So that first image down at the bottom left is inserting the drive into the roll-in tube. We're going to use that little drive installation tool, which will protect your hands or allow you to press it firmly into the ground so you get a nice, solid, seated drive. After that, we're going to stick our left and right bracket assembly pieces on both sides, and we're going to be able to pop that up into the brackets. The little hem bar end caps will go on the bottom on each side of the hem bar to give you a nice finished look at the bottom of the rail. And that covers installation. Now that's a lot for this presentation, so we actually covered all of it in 4 instructional videos that are available on YouTube. They are totally open for viewing. It takes about 15 or so minutes to watch them all. As soon as you're about to measure, pop one up on your phone and review. It shows you how to use the tool, shows you how to use a measuring tape. It shows you the bracket assembly for the Triathlon Select Shade in Type A brackets and your Type B brackets. So now that we're moving into installation, some things that we want to share from our previous experience are leveling shades is extremely important, and many, many windows are not level. So if you just utilize where the window frame is or the frame of the window itself, a lot of times you will get something called telescoping. And telescoping is when the roll will move or shift left and right. And what that'll do is it will damage the edges of the shades. It can reduce the performance and the battery life of the shade. So it's really, really important that those anchors are level, and using a laser level or a tripod or anything like that will help keep those brackets level with each other. Another tip to handling fabrics is that they will tend to pick up dust and fingerprints pretty quickly, especially if it's a translucent fabric that kind of has little holes in it. So we would like you to consider using gloves. You can use white gloves, regular gloves, the plastic gloves that you get, surgical gloves, all of those things. And there is a foam roll insert sheet that we ship with the product. So before you take it all apart and throw that away, keep that sheet. Make sure that it gets nice and taped up around it, and then you can handle the roll of tube and fabric. It will stay sealed so that it doesn't get like unwieldy, and it will allow you to protect it from fingerprints. Number one fingerprint causer is you clean your hands, everything is perfect, and then you pick up the drill, and the drill happens to be dirty, and you now transfer fingerprints over to the shade fabric. So use that tip. So let's talk about some ways that we can sell shades. So we were talking about how 51% of homes have the ability to probably put an automated window treatment up if it was within the right price point. And we believe that the Haven fabrics, along with our Triathlon Select shades, are going to be a great price point to be able to get and open up access to these places. So we need to start keeping an eye out for opportunities to talk about shades and bring it up in every project. Here are some visual examples to give you ideas of what you could keep an eye out for and what you would look for in a home. So first off, the easiest ones are always those hard to reach windows, whether they have a fabric treatment or a shade in them today, or if they don't have shade treatments at all. So these left images on the bottom two, they're obviously hard to reach, especially those 10-foot high ones. One's behind couches, one's behind um, sinks, bathrooms. A lot of times they won't put anything up there because they know that they're just going to leave them open all of the time. So this is a great way to offer the option to be able to close them to provide a reduction in glare, provide a ability to protect your furnishings, artwork, anything that's in the house, provide glare reduction so you can see the television that's in the space, or sometimes you just want it to be a little bit darker. They never have any control over it. So keep an eye out for those windows. Another really great spot is for when they have decorative window treatments, but they don't move. So it's a very new trend. We won't talk about whether or not we like it or not, but it's a very new trend. The upper left image is two drapery panels. They are there for aesthetics alone. The drapery panel rod does not even go over where the sliding doors are. So there is zero ability for privacy, reduction of glare, reduction of sunlight, room darkening. Nothing is available by those panels. They're just there for visual accent. Same thing for the bottom right. It's a drapey, flowy, beautiful piece of fabric that's been put over a window, but it doesn't provide any utilitarian use. These are going to be the things you definitely want to look for and bring up in a house to just ask, would it be nice to be able to make it a little darker in here occasionally? Do the lights or does the sun ever come in and annoy you from these upper windows? Oh yeah, that happens all the time. I can put window treatments on there to help you with that at the touch of a button. So these are great opportunities in homes that you're already in to be able to bring up shades every time. So to help you sell more, we actually have a nice folder. It's a professional folder with a homeowner brochure inside, as well as the 4 Haven fabrics. Now, these are specific to Triathlon Select, and they are not available on our General Fabrics website. So the only way to get them is with this sales kit. Now, anybody here who would like to submit their pro number, we will also try to contact all of you to get your pro number afterwards. We will send you this TS Fab kit for free. We also have a quoting guide that we're going to go over in the next few slides, and this is what you're going to use in order to do a quick quote on the spot with your customers. If you would like to take this to the next level, we have a portable pop-up demo that you can purchase. This is a shoulder bag, and you are able to pop up a frame. The shade comes installed with it already, and a Pico, so that all you have to do is pop the batteries in, and you can show a customer how quietly this rolls up and down. And then the measuring tool that we talked about before. These are also available for purchase. You probably only need one, possibly two, and I will again show these at the end of the presentation in case you missed them here. So let's talk about how to use this roller shade quoting guide. All right, so this is a printed quoting guide that has grids, a matrix grid, and the matrix will cover different widths and heights of the different fabrics. So in this example, we're going to run through doing a 42 and 3/8 inch wide by 72 inch high shade. Now this should be pretty easy because it's less than 48 and less than 80, but we need to find the width that matches. So 48 will cover a 42 and 3/8 inch wide shade, and then find our height requirement. 80 inches will cover 72. And then what we'll do is we'll just figure out where those 2 points intersect. And where they cross, that's going to be our list price for that shade. Now this is going to be the Haven Translucent, which we already know is $5.99. So this matches exactly what we expected for our quote. Last piece is Lutron does not ship any shades for free. So we do need to multiply by 1.03 to get that shipping and handling price. Pretty easy. Count up all those windows, multiply it by that, and you have your total quote. Let's do one more example with a slightly larger shade. We're going to use the same Haven translucent fabric for it. We're going to go to 56.5 wide by 75 high. That's going to require a 60-inch cutoff as far as what'll cover it. We're going to do an 80-inch height where those 2 points cross, $972 times our 1.03 to include shipping and handling, and we now know our price for that one additional shade. Make sure to check the tool for delivery timeframes though, because that 5 business days is only for the 48 by 80s. All right, so we've done a 48 by 80, a fixed price. We've done a larger than 48 in the Haven fabric. What happens with other fabric options? Well, we offer hundreds of different fabrics. These are fabric families, and each fabric family has a level assigned to it. Now, these are general quoting purposes. Again, if you want to know exact lead times, exact pricing, and exact configuration, you will want to check these in the tool first. But first, we're going to check our family. In this example, we're going to use Luna. Luna is a level 2 fabric, so that means we go find the level 2 pricing matrix. After we do that, we follow the same rules as before. What size is our window width? What size is our height? Which one matches? Where do those 2 points cross? And that's our price. So if we were looking at the same windows as before, we'd be 709 for the 48 and unders, and we'd be 909 for the larger. Multiply that by 1.03, and again, that's a pretty good idea of what your price is going to be. So how do you get access to this shade? Well, first off, you need to be a pro. All right, so if you have a pro number today already and you made it before this afternoon, then you already have access to this and you can log into My Lutron and follow these steps and quote a shade today. If you do not have a pro number right now, you can go ahead and make one. So you go to lutron.com/pro, scroll down to about the middle of the page, section instruction number 2, and click Complete Pro Application. This will open up the Pro app, fill in all the information. You have to fill in everything that is required, and there is an order form that you can submit if you have ordered a processor before in the past, but that is no longer required, so you can skip through without doing that. Why? Triathlon Select Shades work with just Picos, so you are not required to buy a processor in order to get your shades to work. After you have a pro number, we're going to ask you to log into a My Lutron account and go ahead and add that pro number to your profile. Once you do that, and there's a section where you just click the little blue guy, you go to My Profile, scroll down to say, I have a Lutron account number, and you check that box, type in your new pro number, and then hit save and go back. After midnight Eastern time the next day, you will be able to log back into that My Lutron account and see a new app. It'll be under My Lutron apps and websites. It'll be called My Projects. And this is where you will click to be able to set up your shades and order them. Now, the first time that you go in there, if nobody's been in before, we need to set your distributor. All right, so today we're hosting a webinar with Snap. So your email address will be SPO Lutron Quotes at adiglobal.com. And I will show that up at the end of the presentation as well. And we will share all of this information out with the recording after we're done as well. Once you set that distributor up, it will give you a drop-down menu of all the locations. Go ahead and click which location you prefer to have as your main distributor, and you will be set. You'll only have to do this once. All right, anyone who happens to be a direct dealer, you should be able to follow the same exact thing except for use your own Lutron account number, not your pro number. All right, so I'm going to open up this tool for the first time. What am I going to see? Well, you are going to see a small plus box in the upper right-hand corner, and you are going to select Add Product, Select Roller. All right. If you have both accesses because you've done full line shades before, it's going to be in another option called Select Roller. If this is the only option you have, congratulations, you will find it really easy. Once you click that, it will open up another little window. This window guides you through all of the pieces of information you have to have in order to purchase a shade. So the first thing you're going to do is name it. All right, we name this one Main Bathroom West 1. Now, that happens to be a very detailed name because in the future we hope you're going to sell lots of shades and you'll need to know what room and what window and what wall it's on so that you can keep all the shades that get delivered organized. And it's just a really good practice to get yourself into, even if you're only ordering a shade or two for your first job. The second thing we're going to do is add into our width and our height. So in this one, we did a 45-inch wide window, 72 inches tall. We're going to select if it is inside or outside mount. And when you select outside mount, it gives you the option for the mounting spacer. This is for when we want to get out past the trim, or if we need to get out past handles and cranks on the window at the bottom. All right. The next thing to do is pick your fabric. You're going to click into that box. If you've remembered Haven, type in HAV, it'll filter out, and then you can select this one. So the carat 1% or 1% opening is for our light filtering. If you were to do 0%, that would be your blackout fabric or your room darkening. And if you want to check out all the other fabrics that are available, you click Launch Fabric Finder, and that will take you to our fabric website. That is again what you can share with your customers so they can go through all of the options, select up to 20 samples, and have them delivered to their house for free. The technology here is not going to change, so you don't have to worry about that, but your bracket color is going to be interesting. As Lutron recommended, is going to make your Haven ones will always be white, all right? And you can see at the bottom, it says Type B brackets in white. It gives you the number of batteries you need, the battery life, and the range. In fact, on your quote, it will collect up and total how many batteries you need for all of the shades going on the project, so you don't even have to worry about that. If you do change your bracket color from white to any of the others, it will increase in price the cost of the shade. All right, we're almost there. Last part is in the upper right-hand corner. It tells you how many days it will ship in. So this is one of our fixed MSRP shades, so it ships in 5 business days. If we were to select Luna or any of the other fabrics, it would give us a custom quote here, which could be anywhere from 15, 25, 30 days. Some fabrics even go as far as 50 days. So if timing is of importance to your customer, then you definitely want to maneuver them to Haven. It will also give you your list price, so then you will know very quickly what cost is going to be. Once we're finished with all of our selections, we click Save, and it will bring us back to our quotes in our design. It will show you one single line for our Main Bathroom West 1. It will give you the main pieces of information, your shipping time frame, and your list price. Now here you can go through and duplicate, you can create more than one, you can delete these, you can do all kinds of stuff to be able to add more shades to your project. But that's the Design tab. Once we're finished designing, we're going to move to quotes and orders. So we click on quotes and orders and we create a PDF. And that will then split our single shade into 2 lines. Now, why does it do this? Well, we're shipping it in 2 boxes. So one line is for each of the boxes that's going to deliver to you. You guys are going to assemble it on site. Now, anything in the type A brackets is going to show up as one line because that's going to deliver assembled in one single box. What's important here is that the 2 prices will add up to the fixed pricing that was already set in both the quote ordering guide and in the design tool. So those 2 will total up properly at the end of the day. Notice shipping and handling is also included here. So if you don't want to do any of that math yourself, just build it out into the My Projects quote tool, and you will have not only your battery count, your shipping and handling, your total list price, and everything you need, including a document you can print out and give to the customer for sign off. Once we've created our quote and the customer has signed off, it's time to place that order. Direct accounts will have a order button. Pro accounts, you will have a request pricing button. You're both going to do the same thing. You're going to pop into here and you're going to click that button. Now, what happens after you click that button? Well, you will have submitted that to that distributor email that we talked about earlier, SPO Lutron Quotes at adiglobal.com. That branch will then get a notification of that. They will reach out to you to get any required payment or authorization, depending on how your account is set up, and just confirm your preferred pickup or drop ship address for the shades to go to. For your first shades, I recommend sending them to the branch just so that you get an idea of how it delivers. It would be terrible to have it delivered to your house and not have anybody there to receive. All right. So thank you very much for joining us. And in fact, to say thank you, we have an exclusive offer for everyone who is here today. As long as you create a pro number and submit that into us, and we know that you were on this webinar, you are eligible to get one free remake. So if you mess up your measurements on your first shade project, within 45 days of this webinar, we will allow you to get one remake of that shade for free. So some important dates are: place your first Triathlon Select order before May 31st, so the end of next month. Make sure that we know if anything happens to that within 45 days after that order is placed. So we will no longer be honoring this after July 15th. We have an email address to submit that to. It's actually on the next screen. And we will take care of that first oops shade. So here are all the most important things that we talked about on this presentation: the sales kit itself, the pop-up demo, the quoting tool, bracket color sample keychain, the ordering email that you would use to set up your distributor, the do-over email you would use to let us know if you made a mistake, the Lutron.com website to create your pro number, and the measuring tool. At this point in time, the information portion of this presentation has concluded, and we'll start working on the Q&A. So again, thank you.
Delia, do you see the Q&A or would you like us to?
I'm popping it up.
Okay.
Do you guys still see just the regular screen?
Yes, I see yep.
Okay. So the first question I have is, what is the model number of the Smart Hub if you're just stepping up from a Pico and possibly upgrading to RA3? It's the RA3 Proc. It's like RR something Proc Kit 1. I think that's it, RR Proc Kit 1. Are these slides going to be available? This entire recording is available. Snap, you guys can share out the slides as well as a single document that we have that shares the details for the do-over promotion.
Fantastic.
The $500. So this was a great question here. It's kind of, is $599 the cost, and how do I charge a customer for a percentage that I'm doing the installation? So the $599 is the list value of the shade. So that's the amount you would be quoting the customer, $649 for the blackout. If you would like to know your cost, there is a percentage that Snap can share with you because you guys buy through distribution, and that you would use for your personal quote for understanding how much it would cost you. It says shades are available in wired or wire-free. The shades are only available in a wire-free topology. So these are only available in a battery-operated system. If you're looking for wired, we have other products that could do that. Is there a dealer demo discount? So there is not a dealer demo discount at this point in time. However, if we have enough interest today where you say, I would like to buy one, I would consider creating one. Are the batteries included? there are no batteries included. So this is going to be separate. You're going to want to count up all those batteries, get a chunk probably from Amazon. We do have in the app note recommended batteries to do. It's usually Duracell. And we generally don't recommend doing the rechargeables because they tend to not have a consistent battery life after the first charge. All right. Can you use the Caseta Pro Hub with these shades and then integrate them to Control 4? Well, as long as the Caseta Pro Hub is integratable with Control 4, the answer is yes. So we are limited by the integration capability of the other company. If they work with our processor in any level, then the answer is yes, you absolutely can. We're new to Lutron Shades game. Triathlon Select itself is sealable. There's no minimum goal area Lutron. So this product is really designed to help you decide if shades is a category you want to explore further. Okay. So from my history of selling shades for a very long time, it is a very different selling style. It is a very different process, right? To do full line shades. You have to be into the house very early. You have to understand how to get wires through the walls. You have to understand that the measurements are going to change from when you get at stick to when you get into final. There are multiple times you have to go out into a project to make sure that everything actually goes smoothly in the way that you expect. And then final, depending on what they've picked and depending on the availability, like the complexity of that process is very different than selling a home theater or surround sound system or even multi-room audio. So this shade reduces a lot of the complexities of how to deliver a shade, how to sell it with a complete solution, and provide a usable system to a customer way faster. You can get onto a project after everything is closed up and still offer an automated shade to somebody. And after you do that a few times, that's when I would say, do you want to change the way your company does business to then focus on providing shades continuously? Or do you want to be able to provide some really easy automated shades for customers to get rid of glare, to provide protection, to provide security, to provide privacy occasionally? And that's kind of, this is why this product is so cool, is it opens up that possibility for you and your business on every job without having to make that decision before you make the investment. So the investment to this is I have a pro number, I have a customer with a window, and I could add a Pico and a shade to this project. That's the investment. It's also interested. Okay, we got another ad for demo dealer. That's great. We'll reach out to you. Can we mix these shades in the project with regular triathlon? So yes, you can mix this shade with regular triathlon, other people's shades, palladium shades from Lutron, any shades that happen to be in the house, because it's just going to be a single add-on. And the control system that you use will determine whether or not it integrates with that. So you can totally mix and match. I probably wouldn't do it in the same room. I'd probably make sure that they visually weren't able to be seen from the same space. So you want to keep the visual consistency across your field of vision. Okay. Can you review again registering for a pro account with a Lutron? Yes. So reviewing the pro account. Go to lutron.com/pro. Scroll down to the middle of the page and complete the application. That's really the entire thing. Once you have a pro number, we do need to create a My Lutron account. That My Lutron account is your home base for everything. Software downloads, programs, prices, brochures, and the My Orders, My Projects software. So that's your home base, and you will go there all the time. The Pico does not come with a shade. We actually make about 120 different styles of Pico. You even have customizable ones if you'd like to customize the engraving on those as well. But we make specifically shades word picos, so they have shade open, close, open, stop. We have images, so if you want to do a picture of a shade open, a picture of a shade closed, and we have different audio keypads as well as different scenes for relax, entertain, etc. Anybody who wants to check this out, scroll over to another window on Chrome or whatever favorite browser you have and type in the phrase Power of the Pico, and that will give you a brochure that outlines all 100+ Picos that we have. Regarding the blackout, do I have an option for buying side tracks? So that's a great question. And the answer is we don't provide side tracks or bottom rails for any battery operated solution. The reason being is we can't guarantee the interoperability when you're squeezing the fabric or requiring it to move a brush along some other material, and that really is a wired option. If you are trying to create as dark of a room as possible, I would recommend going inside mount as far out, overlap those edges to reduce the amount of light leakage coming in. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Can I use them with 120-volt without batteries? Again, we are only offering this as a battery operated solution. If we're looking for a wired option, this is not going to be the product for you. We have another demo discount. That would be great. And how do these compare to the Caseta shade? So the Caseta shade is only available in smaller sizes. It does have a honeycomb version that you can do, and it will not integrate with anything but Caseta. So the whole option there, and it's only Haven fabrics. So you are limited to specific fabrics. Your sizes are reduced. You cannot have any of the additional integration pieces. And the expectation is that they buy that shade for what it cost, no installation. So it is a DIY product, and they are charged with installing it and measuring it themselves. If, however, they're uncomfortable with possibly measuring incorrectly, they do not have access to the tool, and I believe that those would be wonderful services you could charge for both measurement and installation. So when we're man, these are great questions. I really appreciate this. Okay, there are both limit settings you can do at the top and the bottom. So what does this mean? This means we know we want the bottom of the hem bar to align somewhere on the window, whether it's above the sill, right at the bottom of the sill, or maybe there's a handle or a crank and we don't want to go past that. We want to stop there. So that's our bottom limit that we can set. We also do a top limit. So we don't want the fabric to continue to roll and like flip over itself at the top. So there's always a place you want to stop that. And then sometimes you have these roller fabrics going outside mount, not inside mount, and inside has maybe a blind. Like I actually at my own house have a horizontal blind that's in the inside of the window, and then these on the outside. So I have the ability to room darken a little bit, provide privacy, and then my blackout fabric comes over that. So I'm able to then set the limit below where the horizontal blind stops. So it pulls right up to there. You never see it, stops right there. You can also set the limits to hit or have a preset to hit maybe where a mullion or crossing is. So that's usually a nice, really visually pleasing way to pause the height of that shade. So you have both a top limit, you have a bottom limit, and you have a preset level that you can do. Great questions. As Lutron Pro, we are only eligible to sell the battery-powered shades. Yes, in fact, I'm going to tell you guys all a secret. Battery-operated shades across the board are now the #1 selling shades. They are outselling every wired shade we have ever made, and we have only been making wireless shades for the past 5 years, and they have already overtaken that. So I understand that battery operated is often asked for, but I'm going to tell you guys as we're going forward, that trend is moving further and further to wireless every day. Do these shades roll down together in sync, multiple shades in the room? Another fantastic question. So When you use a RA3 processor, you are able to activate IHA, or what we call intelligent hembar alignment. This allows all of the shades to move up and down in unison and stop and start at the same spots. It does not work solo with Pico because there's no intelligence between the two, and Caseta does not have this option. So if intelligent hembar alignment is important to you, then a RA3 processor will make that happen. Are all the shades made in the USA? Any risk of tariffs? Well, my friends, I'm going to tell you there's a risk of tariff on almost everything that we're purchasing today. And I'm not going to be able to tell you that we're not going to see anything happen. I will tell you that your quotes are good for the days that are on the quote tool. So one thing we didn't cover is once you create a quote in My Projects, it gives you an expiration date. So we may not be able to say what will happen in the future, but you can tell the customer that as long as they place that order before the expiration date on that quote, they are protected for that price. So we will be back with everyone when and if pricing changes will happen, but any quote that you make today is good through that quote date, and we will honor that price. Can I use custom fabric required by the designer? So with this being a battery operated shade, it's highly recommended not to do a customer's own fabric or replace it with somebody else. Each of these drives are specifically designed to work with the weight and size of the fabric that we use. So I would recommend against doing that. What do we need to be able to do to sell wire? That's a completely different product. We're only talking about the battery operated today. Until we have to change batteries. Oh, you mean, I think that this question about until having to change the batteries has to do with the understanding of moving to wireless from a wired topology. I believe that we have most dealers selling a service contract. So then every year they're taking care of maintenance of many things, just general system performance, any objects that might have a battery, checking to make sure that your remotes are still charging properly, and just doing like an annual checkup like every 2 years. And then you just include the batteries into that price and you come out and take care of it. So that's kind of becoming a profit center as opposed to an issue for many folks. Showroom accommodation, for those of you who are still on, it's the 55 off. That's our best deal for everything. So if we really need to do that, we can talk about that. Since I don't have sold these before, approximately installation price that dealers typically. Oh, okay. So if you're asking about a typical installation charge, that is always dependent on region because different regions have different labor rates. However, I will tell you that it personally took me about 20 minutes to install my first one ever. And I chose not to read the instructions because I wanted to do it in a real world capacity. And the second one, I was able to install, and I actually had to stand on the counter because I installed it over my kitchen sink. Even that one took me less than 15 minutes. So if you really wanted to know what quoting price it should be, by the time you get good at these, you should be able to do them about 10 to 15 minutes worth of labor time and whatever that scores out to you guys. The last question, and of course, get one, try it, see how long it takes you to install. That's always a great way to go as well. And then regarding the power source, how does PoE look as a trend for powering shades? Can't speak to that right now. We don't currently have anything that's PoE for shades. We are using PoE for our processors for RA, so that definitely is something we have implemented, but we have nothing currently in shades that are doing that. But great question. All right, folks. I have
Fantastic.
hit the max of time.